Hi, Jerry. Can you hear us? I love that. Hey, Jerry, can you hear us? Components and text of our audio. You can love. Can you hear me? Like you're. Hey, Sherry, can you hear me? I'm not muted. I don't think she can hear me yet. Yeah. I'm gonna chat with her. Sherry, can you hear us yet?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. We want to say good evening and welcome to our board meeting. We'll call this meeting to order. And we'll start with our land acknowledgement by Dr. Sweeting.
We honor the first peoples of these lands by acknowledging that the area in which we gather is within the traditional territory of the Stillaguamish tribe of Indians. The Stillaguamish people have inhabited these lands and waters since time immemorial, and their ancestors have remained in this territory to this day. The Stillaguamish people have continued to practice the traditional ways of their ancestors of fishing, hunting, and gathering. The Stillaguamish tribe has had these lands and cultural traditions passed on to them by their ancestors who believed that everything has a spirit and that they are caretakers of these lands and waters.
Thank you, Dr. Sweeting. Next, we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance. Will everyone please rise and join us? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next, we'll have our roll call attendance. Director Diamond,
Here.
Director Kelly,
Here.
Director Kingman.
Here.
Director Levesque. Here. Director Knapp. Here. Student Advisor LeBon. Student Advisor Nichols. Superintendent Sweet.
Here.
Thank you. Next, we'll have our approval of the agenda. Is there any changes anyone would like to make to the agenda, or do we have a motion to approve it as presented?
Make a motion, we approve the agenda.
A second.
It's been moved by Director Knapp and seconded by Director Diamond to approve the agenda as presented. Madam Clerk. Director Diamond.
Aye.
Director Kelly.
Aye.
Director Kingman.
Aye.
President Levesque. Aye. Director Knapp. Aye. Thank you. The agenda is approved. Next up, we have the highlight of our evening. We have our presentation, and we'd like to start with our student presentation, the Eagle Creek Elementary fourth grade student trout project presentation.
It's actually a salmon project. So we put it up in the world. This is our fifth year raising fish at Eagle Creek. We have the Eagle Creek Fish Hatchery. It has been trout, but we are partnering this year with the Stillaguamish Tribe. I won't get too much into that because I'm going to let our students and their wonderful teachers share a little bit more about the project. So good evening. I'm Bethany, principal at Eagle Creek. I have the pleasure of having 4 Eagle Creek students and 5 Eagle Creek teachers here to share a little bit about raising salmon with you. So if Ava and Brendan and Sage and Hadley could come on up, that would be amazing. As well as their teachers, Mrs. Burbeck, Miss Beard, Miss Polkinghorn, Miss Tim, and Miss Clarkson.
All right, thank you for having us. We're excited to be here and share a little bit about raising salmon with you. We'll go to the next slide. So this is a picture of our Eagle Creek hatchery. The equipment you see here has been purchased through Arlington Education Foundation grants, which we're very grateful for. The project has grown a lot over the years, and we've been able to purchase new equipment like the materials to build the case. Inside there's a lot of equipment like a chiller that was about $800. So in all, I think we have about $1,500 invested in this project, and we're really grateful that we can keep it going every year and make it better as we grow the project. We started actually this year in November with goldfish in the tank, which was new this year because we realized from past experience we needed to establish a bacteria base and get the nitrogen cycling before the water would be ready for the salmon. And so we've had a much more successful project this year with our water quality. We can go to the next slide.
All right, we've been super fortunate to partner with lots of community organizations to help make this project really come alive for kids. And Bethany kind of touched on it this year. We are so grateful to Will Irwin, Tribal Hatchery Manager, who may or may not be in the audience. And the Stillaguamish Tribe of Indians who are allowing us the opportunity to raise salmon instead of trout this year, and fully funding a field trip to the hatchery for the release of these salmon and some hands-on learning experiences for the kids. We also partner with the Snohomish County PUD and some different folks that we know there to provide Zoom learning for the kids who, and they teach the students about their system of dams and how those are beneficial to people and the different measures that they're taking to lessen the impact on the salmon. And so we're just making that connection come alive for kids with our community partners.
Next slide. So early in January, just off the heels of Christmas break, our eggs arrived. There's approximately 250 eggs being lowered into the tank. You can see already that many of them have developed eyes. Within just a few days, much to our surprise, they began to hatch. We thought we were going to have a little bit more time, but hey, we just roll with it, right? And so I'm wondering if any of the kids want to talk about what's happening in that video right there. Do you want to say what you saw?
They are coming out of the egg sac and and that is called
Elephants, yes. We can see their little fruit sack right here. This is a really good image of one of them here. And maybe somebody would like to say, why do we take one of the little salmon out and look very closely at its belly?
so it we can see if it's buttoned up.
And what does it mean if it's buttoned up?
It's, food sack is on.
Yeah, so we can see a line on the underside of the little alabin right here. If you can see a line, is it ready for feeding? No, we have to wait for that line to completely disappear. And then once that is gone, that means their food source is gone and they're ready to rely on us for feeding. And these other images, you can just see kind of a few of them gathered there together.
Oh, we got it, okay. We can go to the next slide.
I think so.
Okay. So in fourth grade, these students get to become ichthyologists. Abby, did you want to tell the board what an ichthyologist is?
An ichthyologist is a person who studies fish.
That's right, and each student gets a field journal for their ichthyologist observations, and so students do lots of observations, probably 10 or 12 throughout the course of the project, as they observe each life stage, and they document their observations with water quality, which Ava is holding there, and they document what they see in writing and also in pictures. So Ava, did you want to tell the board a little bit about what we test for in water quality and what we do if the water quality is not where we want it?
We will be testing for nitrate, nitrite, and ammonia. If the water quality is bad, we will be doing a water change. And
About how often are we testing right now?
we're testing about once or maybe twice a week.
So water quality is really important because we have a closed system. And so monitoring all of those levels and making sure that everything is just where it needs to be is a huge part of the success of the project. Also, I was just going to mention some of the other grade levels at Eagle Creek have created their own ichthyologist packets. So kindergartners bring their own ichthyologist packets that have grade level appropriate science information in it, and they come on down the hall and do their own scientific observations. So the project has really become a building-wide event. Okay, next slide.
And so, the learning targets, as far as, it's really special to see how it all connects for our fourth grade students. I think back to the beginning of the year when we were learning about the landforms and Washington State and the Columbia River, and then how we start adding informational texts about salmon and reading strategies and writing race responses. With just the scientific observation, learning about internal and external structures with salmon, and then also math. They're calculating survival rates. Julie created a 3-act task that was on Swedish fish, right? With our theme, estimating, and it was a 3-act task that she created to go with this. So that connection for kids where they're seeing it just starting with just a special as part of Washington State, and then also with our Native American studies, in Streams of the River, reading that text and just seeing in that story there, or in that book, salmon start to spawn and they see them coming up the Columbia River. And so it's just really special how it all connects, and that the salmon is just that anchor in there. And so it's pulling all the different content areas. You'll see an example of a student's work in their field journal, that the Saving the Salmon's informational text, and then the math task that was created by Julie, which is fabulous. And then next slide. So culminating project, right? So students get to show their learning. And so what they get to decide is they have 3 choices. This year we did 3 choices. So they got to make a poster, make a Google slide, or write an essay on the life cycle of salmon. They have to show all the same learning as far as understanding with the 6 stages of life cycle, but also include structures to help it survive, habitat, food, threat, and interesting fact for each stage. And how they present that information, they get to choose if they want to do, like I said, the poster, the Google slides, or an essay. So, yeah, and so we'll talk to our kids about that. So here are our spotlight students. And so we're just going to kind of talk about, so they're holding their project, how they chose to show their understanding of the life cycle of salmon. So Sage, we'll just kind of start with you and go down the line. What did you choose to do and why?
I chose the slideshow because I really like working on individual sections at a time. And it's like, it's really cool because you like work on one type of salmon at the same, like, just one speed, like the one stage of salmon at the same time. And you don't have to write all about it at once.
Yeah, you can kind of focus on one
Yeah.
stage and then you get to move on to the next. That helps with staying organized. Great. Ava?
I chose to do a coaster because I would like to create a piece of my own art and not use someone else's artwork in my piece. I chose a slideshow because I knew I'd have different opportunities to do a poster or an essay in class or in the art room, so I wanted to do something a little bit different.
Yeah, Brendan?
I chose a poster because I like art and I like taking my time on art.
And so what would you, I'm gonna ask you guys, what was your favorite stage of the life cycle of the salmon and why?
Mine was smolts because they start making their way to the sea and they start doing their anadromous. Anadromous is when salmon goes from saltwater from freshwater to saltwater and back to freshwater.
Eva?
My favorite is spawners because they use up all of their energy to go upstream to reproduce, and that's called being smelters. I did fry because they're starting to get the smell of their red, so when they're spawners, they can find their way back home, and they're starting to get a little bit adventurous. And I chose adults because they grow teeth so that they can eat crustaceans.
Nice, good job.
So after weeks of reading and observing and learning about salmon, we culminate this unit. Well, I'll back up. The penultimate, the culminating is next, but we asked the kids to synthesize all this information that they've been taking in. They've been reading information, salmon, a link in the food chain. Each child is given one of these books and it really focuses on the life cycle of the salmon, and then saving the salmon is really more about the relationship between salmon and the challenges in their environment, which includes the dams. And so we have developed this performance task to mimic the kind of a task that they would see on the Smarter Balanced assessment. And basically we have asked them, here's the task. Your community has noticed that fish populations are low in your local river. Some people are saying a dam needs to be removed to let the fish pass. Farmers also want to make sure their needs are met. Local leaders are trying to decide what to do to solve the problem. Leaders are aware that fourth graders have been studying this complicated problem. They are asking local fourth graders to offer information on the advantages and disadvantages of dams. Now, obviously, there's a lot more in that task than I just read, but I think that gives you the nuts and bolts of it. So this is great debate in the classroom about the healthfulness versus the challenges that the dams create in our environment. And it's really fun to have the kids bring all of the information that they have been learning over the weeks studying the salmon to create their own essay about this complicated problem.
I should get the essays. You got it, okay. I think it was right here.
All right, and then obviously with raising salmon, we get to release them as well. So at the end of our unit, we go on a field trip to release our salmon. So each student gets to individually hold their fish and release them. So in past years, we've gone to Lake Goodwin because we've raised trout. But this year, since we are raising salmon, we're going to Harvey Creek Fish Hatchery, which is fully funded and owned by the Stillaguamish tribe. So that is where we are going this time around, which is very exciting. If you can go to the next slide, please. So we will be doing our salmon release field trip on March 26th, March 27th, and March 28th from 10 to 2. And you guys are
Invited.
Or you guys can stop by Eagle Creek to see the project as well.
Have any questions?
I have a question. Do you eat salmon?
Yes.
Yes. After learning all about all of the sacrifices that the salmon make, did you want to keep eating salmon? They're good for you, my doctor says.
I have a question from all the way back at the beginning. We were talking about goldfish at first. Who was it that discovered that you needed to put goldfish in there?
Many goldfish.
Wow.
It didn't have to be goldfish. We just
Okay.
needed something to
Something.
create bacteria in the tank. And so we needed fish to do that.
Yeah,
So
pretty
it-
cool.
It's kind of a really cool example of perseverance, I think, on the part of our amazing fourth grade team, because we had the very first year that we raised a trout, we had one single survivor. His name is Waylon, and Waylon is now in fourth grade. So Waylon loved the fish so much, that's why his name was Waylon. But was that the first year?
Yeah.
One single survivor, and that also included having several visits from the fish ferry. And this year, how many fatalities have we had?
We had our first one this morning. Yeah.
So it's pretty amazing.
It was
It's pretty-
Yeah, pretty cool.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I was curious, would you pursue salmon next year as opposed to trout? And are you able to sort of coalesce this, this experience, to relay what has worked and what you would do differently, in the future to other, either like OSPI or any other schools in in Snohomish County? I'm wondering if other schools are doing something similar.
Yes, I think we all agree we will forever want to stick with salmon. It's just been a more engaging process. The fish themselves are just more interesting to watch.
And more robust.
They're more
Yeah.
robust. Yeah, they're, nothing against trout, but the salmon have been a little more interesting. And yes, we, are also partnering, with Deneen Severson at Haller. So I've been over to visit her tank and just try to problem solve. They partner with a different organization for their project, but also got fish from Will. So, our experiences and learning have been very, very different. And so partnering for sure, it just makes us all better.
Recently, did you go on a fourth grade field trip to the Still Community Center?
Yes.
Was there any connection? Did they talk at all about salmon or their fishing?
Yeah.
They had a tank, right?
They had,
Yeah,
they had
large or
small.
small.
The kids got to look at, they were, yeah, good.
Do you guys want to pass out, your ethics so the board members can each pass out if there are more questions? There's people, so you can just give them to you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, yes.
I got it. They're all the same?
Yeah.
No.
First time we got. You.
Oh, that's the same.
Any other questions? Excellent job. Thank you very much. No, Director Diamond had a question. Let's see if he still has it.
What? Yes, I was just curious, how big are the fish when you release them? Okay. And what was like the most interesting part of the project so far for you? Kind of like your aha moment.
When their egg sac got all buttoned up. Yeah. But like, it was crazy from like that big to like nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah. It's exciting.
Cool. Very good. All right, let's give a round of applause.
What your new project that just took off, literally, is, what are you tracking? Oh,
yeah. Yeah, we had the mushrooms. I did rod mushrooms.
They're tracking the Iditarod now, and there's a lot of math involved, so I'm forever grateful to these awesome kids. Great job, you guys, and their teachers for making fun them alive for them. And they said you want to walk in the stay for the rest of the team, but you're right, so Mary's always so generous to say you can go keep it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Great job, you guys.
Excellent presentation, absolutely. Excellent.
Well, yeah. Right on, well.
Yeah, we can't have, actually, I'm running and there's, that's too, I do want to put it on the wall.
What should I recommend?
I'll take that extra. Yep, you got it? Yeah, we have a blue basket. Thank you. Oh, yeah, I'm sure we don't forget that. Amazing job. Thank you all so much for being here tonight and sharing all your learnings. We sure enjoyed that. What a great example of community partnership. All right, next up, we have another presentation we're very excited for. We would like to welcome, well, we're going to have our education support professionals recognition, and we'd like to welcome Eric Dion to come on up and, oh, never mind. Dr. Sweeting is going to start it.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we're beginning a week of special appreciation for our classified staff. And last week, I sent a message to them saying that we were going to honor them this week, but also a special moment tonight at the board meeting. And I'd like to invite all of the classified staff who are here to come and stand before us. And if you're on Zoom, you can stand up where you're at, but you can just be listening to this as well. So all classified staff here, please come up. Okay. All right, so this recognition actually is not an Arlington thing. It's really started a long time ago. PSC actually in 1975, they started it to recognize classified staff who are dedicating their life to public education and serving in the public education setting. So I think that's pretty spectacular. And I know that I've been in education for a long time, and we've always, this is a time, I mean, hopefully we're showing it all the time, but this is just one time we can really rise up and say thank you to our classified staff. And so we have a couple of things that we're going to do, but because I appreciate you, I thought of a word for each one of those letters in the word appreciate. So A, you're amazing. P, you're always present, even during COVID, when it was tough. P, you are professional. R, you relate to students and adults. E, you're energized to serve. C, you're compassionate and caring. I, you're incredible. And A, always ready to serve. T, totally committed. And E, eager to support Arlington students and the adults as well. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to give Nancy a moment if you'd like to say something to the group.
You didn't warn me about this stuff.
I just say words.
Last year you had Home Eco for that. Well, I'm glad that you guys came tonight. I really appreciate each of you, and I'm assuming there's 350 people on Zoom as well. But our classified staff, they're exactly everything you just said. They're amazing. They are really the cornerstone of the school district. Without each one of them, we wouldn't be able to function. So I just hope that you guys always appreciate us, and we're always here to serve. And I just think everybody here is super special. I know pretty much everyone here, and thank you all for coming. And this is my vice president. I'm gonna turn the spot. Can you say something too?
Ditto. Basically, we're here every day. We support each activity, everything that we do. We put 110% in every day. And I'm thankful to work with everybody, being on the bus every day. I get to see different faces every day and I love that about my job. It's just open to so many different things. So thank you all for being here.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. So today we attempted, there's a few that I have to go tomorrow and do, but Cabinet attempted to take the cookies. And it is a chore to figure out which box to put them in, because it's, especially at the high school, it's very complicated. But anyway, these are just some cookies in and a token of appreciation, so enjoy them or share them with someone. The other thing is, I know that across the district, you're being celebrated. At least I hope you're being celebrated. I looked at some of the newsletters, and some of the things that the newsletters said about you is that you're superheroes. I saw one building calling you superheroes. I saw another building say you hit it out of the park. And I saw another building say, we love our classified. So those are some of the things, and I know more are out there. Those are the ones I captured. So appreciate you. So stay right there. Don't move. I would like to invite Cabinet to come up. And they're going to read, Eric's going to say a few words, and then the Cabinet's going to read the proclamation that the governor just freshly published on Friday. So we got that ready for you.
I'm going to say thank you with a chocolate bar.
Chocolate is a great.
I won't make you listen to me. I'll just have to grab a chocolate.
It's a reward for coming. Sorry to those on Zoom. Zoom it to them.
That's right. Yeah, there's prizes for being present.
Chocolate Zoom.
That would be amazing.
And then we have the article proclamation from the governor.
From our governor, I get to start. Whereas education support professionals are involved in nearly every aspect of education, maintaining buildings and grounds, preparing and serving meals, keeping school facilities clean and orderly, assisting in the classroom, providing over 60% of all instructional hours to special education students, English language learners, and opportunity gap students, performing and conducting research activities, providing information technology and media services, administrative support functions and safe transportation, creating a healthy environment, and many other specialized services. And
Whereas more than 62,000 education support professionals work with and help students at Washington's universities, colleges, and public schools are the backbone of our public education system and deserve recognition and thanks for the outstanding work they do for this state. And
whereas education support professionals are instrumental in fulfilling the state's responsibility to educate all students, and by supporting the learning environment, they serve as crucial partners with teachers, parents, administrators, and school boards.
Now, therefore, Jay Inslee, Governor of the State of Washington, does hereby proclaim March 2024 as Education Support Professionals Month in Washington, and encourages all people in our state to join him in this special observance.
What I'd like you to do is we'd love to shake your hands. So you come and then have a seat, because there's a slideshow, but I'd like you'll see it better if you're sitting down. So if you come, we'd love to shake your hand while you go sit down.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I thank you.
Thank you. Hello. Thank you. I did. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I think, Debbie, your friend there.
So that was a wonderful presentation and slideshow. I saw lots of familiar faces of people that I love and appreciate very much. I also want to say thank you to all of our support staff, all 333. You're so important and valued and very much appreciated. Thank you for all that you do for our kids every day, especially for my troublemaker kid. Appreciate you. So, thank you for that presentation. Next up, we have our approval of the minutes. And you don't have to stay. You're welcome to stay. You're always welcome, but you don't have to. Thank you, guys. Thank you. So there's one set of minutes. We have our regular meeting minutes and study session from February 26th. Is there any changes or do we have a motion to approve them?
Motion to approve study session minutes.
I'll second. Director Diamond has made a motion and Director Knapp has seconded the motion to approve the regular meeting minutes and study session minutes from February 26th. Madam Clerk. Director Diamond.
Yay.
Director Kelly.
Aye.
Director Kingman.
Aye.
President Levesque. Aye. Director Knapp. Aye. Thank you. The minutes are approved. Next up, we would have our public comment portion of our meeting. If anyone is interested in speaking to the board tonight, this would be the time to do it. We have no one signed up in advance or on Zoom. So we'll just skip right ahead to our consent agenda. That includes our personnel report, our payroll report, warrants, several Skills USA attendees to our state conference, our medical club from AHS to a state competition, Eastern Washington University Education Affiliation Agreement. And is there anything that anyone would like to pull from the consent agenda? Or do we have a motion to approve consent agenda as presented?
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
A second.
Director Nat has seconded or has motion to approve our consent agenda and Director Diamond has seconded it. Is there ready for a vote? Ready for a vote? Director Diamond.
Aye.
Director Kelly.
Aye.
Director Kingman.
Aye.
President Levesque. Aye. Director Nat. Aye. Thank you. The consent agenda is adopted. Next up, we have our new business portion of our meeting. And we'll start with our amendment to the fee schedule for 2024 summer school tuition. We'd like to welcome Gina Zutenhorst, our Executive Director of Financial Services.
Good evening. An amendment to the student fee schedule is being proposed to increase the summer school tuition from 200 per 0.5 of the credit to 225 per credit. So per 0.5 credit. And we have been working with the administration at the high school, Arlington High School, around the planning for this summer's program. And they're getting ready to send out communications regarding the program. So that's part of why we're here before you as early as we are in March to propose an amendment to that schedule. And if you'll recall, during 21 and 2022, we were able to provide summer school tuition free of charge to all students who desired to take credits over the summer. And we were able to do that with ESSER funds, federal funds, emergency secondary elementary, something like that. The acronym is ESSER. And we were able to provide that program free of charge with that. But as you know, ESSER funding is no longer available. So summer of 2023, we went back to tuition-based program. The collections for that came to about $19,975. The program operated at a total cost of $47,175. So that means there's a bit of a deficit, a subsidy from the district to help that program be able to operate. And this summer, 2024, the program is estimated to cost about $45,000. So we are doing a request to increase the tuition rate to partially offset the cost of this program. And the other part that's separate from this picture is that LAP funds are going to be utilized, laced into assist that happening and be able to be used towards summer school to help the deficit for summer of 2024. And just to remind the board, the district does not receive funding from the state to operate the summer school program. It's not part of their funding allocation model in any way. And we're not able to claim, student enrollment for that. And let's see, I think that's about it. In the absence of the support from LAP, it would be about a $25,000 deficit for this summer of 2024. So there you go.
So. Correct me if I'm wrong. Summer school is only for students who are catching up on credits, not getting ahead.
Most of the students, and I don't want to speak incorrectly, but most of the students for this summer will be credit recovery, not so much credit advancement. There are opportunities for credit advancement, I believe, but the majority of the students are for credit recovery.
Is that based on the number of seats available?
No, I don't think so.
No, it's not limited. It's just whoever, it's not limited.
So if a student wants to catch up on, you call it credit recovery,
Yes,
they have to pay out of pocket.
that's right.
And if they don't, they go into the next year behind.
They have, well, yes. but
Or are they
they're-
forced to do this to go on?
No.
To go on?
No, there are other options that they are able to utilize outside of the school district. There are some other online programs that are available. That was part of the analysis that the summer school administrator team did in their planning. They look at what's available outside of our offerings so that students have and families have choice. But those are all online offerings, and there is some advantage also to being in person for some students that need that structure. Yeah. Does that answer?
And there is a reduction, so there's a reduced, like there's those that are on free reduced lunch or reduced lunch. This is a tiered approach to that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Sorry, this may not even have to do with summer school, but if they are on free and reduced lunch and then they're attending summer school, do they get lunch in the day?
I think it's before lunch.
Before lunch,
It
okay.
goes eight,
so half
there's
day.
2 sessions, 8 to 10 and 10 to 12.
Okay. Thank you. And what was it before COVID? Because I see it was 200.
150, I believe.
Okay.
150.
Do you have any idea about how much we would need to charge to break even, so we wouldn't be in a deficit every year?
Probably around $350 to $400. And climbing.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
The big burden.
Yeah. There are other districts, obviously, who do these programs, and in a previous district, even 7 years ago, when I left there, it was like 300 or so. So we're still quite in range as far as being not what it could be. Possible.
Do we accept anybody from out of district?
I don't know that. Probably not, but I don't know that.
Well, if you think about it, they do pay for it.
If they are enrolled in our district, they can participate.
Okay. One more question. Director Kelly, any questions on Zoom?
I appreciate you bringing that up, Mary, about the cost. That is quite a difference, out of pocket, I wasn't hearing this correctly. Gina, if you were able to back up a second and remind me, how do we get in a deficit on this? Is it cost more to produce it than, I'm just a little confused. If you could clarify that again.
Yes, it costs the district more to provide the program, and the tuition is not enough to fully support the costs.
Okay. And
It's
are there any,
valuable.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Are there any grants or any programs you put out by the state that could help, make up that difference?
Yes, this support this next few summers will be able to be provided through the LAP programs that can be used for credit recovery.
Gotcha. Okay,
state, grant, state categorical program
okay,
area.
But it's not enough to,
It's
Yeah.
not enough and it won't be ongoing beyond a few years.
and Gina, what, if I'm also thinking too, if I look at the Arlington High School versus Weston, is this something we offer to Weston students? Is this, does this information include students that might partake of this from Weston, or is this strictly Arlington High School?
It includes Weston students as well.
and SBLC.
And
And
SBLC.
Okay. And would you say the majority, I mean, based on, is it pretty representative of the majority come from Arlington because it is the bigger population, or are there a relatively high number of Weston or Stillaguamish students that are taking advantage of that?
It's by the sheer numbers, it's probably mostly Arlington High School students.
Okay.
Some, but in proportion, it's, I don't have that,
Yeah. That just would be interesting to me to just kind of look at that data, because, I'd want to make sure that through the course of the year that the students are taking advantage of all the help they can get from the professors, from the teachers. What are the tools they're able to access during the school year so they don't have this in the summer. I'm just thinking if I had some UDL training today, and I'm thinking if we are to look back and say, is this something that is occurring obviously every summer? Are we seeing greater numbers? Which kids tend to continuously make use of this service, albeit with a fee? I just think that'd be some good data to have. And if there are any things we can do during the school year to have fewer students using this. I kind of understand what Mike was saying too. I would like to think that there are students who would like to go forward in their credits and make use of this, and less students who are in credit recovery mode. So just something to think about.
Yeah, noted. And I think Marilee Herman, she manages the summer school program, our high school principal, Arlington High School principal, she can probably wrap that data and may have had some of those pieces of data points in her presentation when she talks more about those areas in the program delivery, more into the instructional side and the strategies around that. So
There was a presentation, Marilee had provided us information at a board meeting, like I want to say in September, so.
Okay, great. Thank
the
you.
numbers are, yeah.
Yeah, just good to have that. Thank you.
What did you say the break-even fee would be?
I would venture, I've calculated it once before and now I can't remember exactly, and I'm an exact kind of person, like it to be exact, but it's about $350.
And so why are we not charging that?
Because we have never charged that much, and that would be a pretty large jump for our community and our students. And we've had a lot of conversations with the individuals involved in administering that. And they ask us, what is the mission of the district? What is important to the district? And should not some of our resources be prioritized to assist with this? And it is critical to getting students across that graduation threshold. So there are both views at the table when we're talking about providing this and the cost of it.
So it's $225 a compromise? Was it a market tested rate?
Yeah, I think that it's an attempt to start pushing that upwards. And I feel like I'm the one that's usually saying, can we push this upwards?
That makes sense.
And, but we also want to make sure that our students that are really needing the program are accessing it. And it's never as simple as just that. There's so many varieties of why which students are in this position, that it's middle ground. Where it is an increase.
Gina, if the board approves this tonight, what's the plan for getting the messaging out and letting families and counselors and students know about the increase?
That is entirely in the hands of the Arlington High School, who does all of that with their program. So they're looking forward to having the confirmation so that they can proceed with all of that.
the sooner the better. They need to be forming their families.
Hopefully there's less kids needing credit retrieval than there has been in previous years.
They're looking at the data already, I know that.
Like typical enrollment for somebody.
I think that we had about 150 credits awarded. So they can earn multiple, and each time they earn a 25 of a credit is 200 and would be, if this is approved, $225. And they can Excel test their skills where they can be done pretty quickly with it, and earn the credit if they are able to do that. And then they can, if they have other credits they need to earn, then they can work on those. Is that right, Karen? Am I saying that right? Okay. I learn all of this when I'm asking all the questions about increasing tuition.
As much as I would like it to not be a deficit to the district, I would like kids to graduate. One of those things I like to see. So I'm in favor of raising it. I don't know what to tell you about not being in the hole every time we do this.
I know that they have been very selective about looking at what is really needed to run that program. So
Do you know about how many staff members it takes to?
there are, I think, 4 teachers and 1 that is, so 5, 4 teachers in the subject matters. I keep looking at Carrie. English, math, social studies, and 1 more science. And then 1 is also for the online type of program where it's through the grading Apex, so. Also registrar plus educators to 1 paraeducator, and registrars there to make sure that they're getting the credit that they need and that it can be count for what in the right pathway of things. And also a counselor is kind of on call for up to about 10 hours so that they can check that with them too, so. And whatever else they need.
I think a nurse is on call too.
So they've, been selective about that compared to previous years where it was a little bit more robust and they really looked at what is the basics of what.
But this is an action item. Is there any questions? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the amendment to the fee schedule for 2024 summer school tuition.
Second.
There's been a motion by Director Knapp and a second by Director Diamond to approve the fee schedule amendment as proposed. Any further discussion? Can we take a vote? Director Diamond?
Yes.
Director Kelly?
Aye.
Director Kingman?
Aye.
President Levesque? Aye. Director Knapp? Aye. Thank you. The fee schedule amendment is approved. Next up, we'll have our UDL Best Teaching Practices, SIP Goals, and Collective Efficacy presented by Carrie Henderson Burke, our Executive Director of Teaching and Learning. Good evening, Carrie.
All right. We're going to talk a little bit about collective efficacy tonight, and I always want to keep us grounded in our universal SIP goal. We have to keep coming back to this because it's our guiding light, which was not just a soap opera in the 80s. Apparently, it's also what our universal SIP goal keeps us centered on. I would also like to say that I feel like everything we're going to talk about is completely superfluous tonight after watching Eagle Creek's 4th grade team and students in action, because there it is. Universal design for learning in action with an incredibly high degree of collective efficacy on the part of the staff and variability with firm goals and flexible means. They did my work for me. Any questions? I'm kidding, but not. So there's a lot to this SIP goal. As we all know, we're going to focus a little bit on collective efficacy tonight, but we're also going to try to tie some things together when we think about Graham Fletcher and the learning that's going on there. So that being said, who wants to take a stab at the definition of universal design for learning? Firm goals with flexible means.
There's some more stuff. There's more to it.
And some other parts.
There is.
Uh-huh. And then there's that first line. Yes.
And it's really great.
It's great. It's such good stuff. So it's really about planning. Universal design is lesson planning that removes barriers before things start, right? The problem is not with the kids. If there's a learning problem, it's not because the kids are broken. It's because we can do some things differently and better. And by the way, it has to be our belief that it's our job to respond to the needs that we see in front of us and plan to remove those barriers. So again, just keeping ourselves grounded in what the point of the work is. It's about kids, it's about learning, and it's about fulfilling our responsibilities differently than we've tried in the past. And then we have yet another definition to play with, right? We have our universal SIP goal about universal design for learning, but we also have in that first line, building collective efficacy, which means very simply, we cause learning to happen, and we know it because we see impacts in the data. We see the growth happening in kids and we can prove it with data. It's not a belief that's squishy, it's a belief based on. So a lot to tie together here. Just a quick reminder why we're focusing on collective efficacy, right? Some things in school actually cause kids to move backwards in their learning. Boredom, suspension and expulsion. Kids go backwards, right? Some growth we can just chalk up to kids growing and aging and living longer and having more experiences. A lot we can chalk up to having a teacher, right? Teachers cause learning to happen. This is not a new thing, but there are things that we can do as a system that actually accelerate learning, that cause learning to happen at a faster rate, more than a year's growth in a year's time. And collective teacher efficacy is at the top of that. When teachers know they cause learning to happen, it causes more learning to happen, right? It's that upward spiral. Okay, just want to remind us of why it works. I don't think we've seen this model before tonight. We talked about collective efficacy as a board clear back in December. And we talked about the definition and we talked about the why and we talked about how good it is for kids. But collective efficacy doesn't grow on trees, right? We can't just go harvest it and say, look what I found, right? We have to create the conditions for it. So this talks about supportive leadership. Everything is about leadership. It could be student leadership, it could be teacher leadership, it could be building leadership, but someone has to take charge, someone has to build the supports. It has to have empowered teachers who believe that they make an impact. We need teachers who have collective knowledge and work together using that knowledge for the good of kids. We have to have embedded reflective practices. We have that in this district. We have for a long time. We've had PLCs forever. We have Friday early release times, which is great, embedded practice time. We also need goal consensus, which is a little bit where I want our focus to be for tonight. In order for our teaching staff to grow collective efficacy and become more like what we saw tonight, we need to work on goal consensus. These are the things that we have in place. We need to work on building some goal consensus. So I want to give you a caution that what I'm going to share isn't a decision by the elementary team. It's a discussion. So it may be what happens. I think it's a good model for what could happen, but it's in its discussion phase. So keeping that in mind. We know that in order to build collective efficacy, we need the goal consensus. And a natural place to look at goals is when our teacher teams get together in their PLCs. Every year, teacher teams create SMART goals that they're going to focus on for the year, right? So Graham Fletcher has provided a couple of things for our teachers and for our system. We've got broad categories to focus on, right? We've got math, we've got numeracy, and we've got fractions, K2 through 5. In order to measure our goals, we have to have shared data, we have STAR data, and we need to give teachers and grade levels time on this. So stick with me for just a second because we're going to look at some math stuff about how PLCs can blend Graham Fletcher, build collective efficacy, and have an impact. So second grade standards that are related to numeracy operations and algebraic thinking, and numbers and operations in base 10. There are plenty of math standards, but if we focus on these for our second grade teachers, there we're narrowing our focus and generating broad goals. Sorry, this is a little bit choppy, but it really will come together at the end, I promise. So when we're looking at goal consensus, the idea is that our primary grades, we're looking at second grade primarily, but if they focus on numeracy and fractions, second grade would look at operations and algebraic thinking and numbers in base 10. Fourth grade would look at numbers in the fractions, number systems and fractions. Collective efficacy is built on the belief that we change things and we know it because of data. So I would like to share some very cool pieces of data that we are starting to look at across our system. So let's start with second grade, if I can get to it. First of all, this is a report that's generated from our STAR assessment system. This is Pioneer's second grade winter math data. So let's talk just for a second about what we're looking at. Here's the standard that is measured. This top bar is where students scored when they took this assessment in January, right? These kids probably going to need some support. These are at getting close to mastery. These are the kids that are secure in this standard, right? The bottom line is where it's projected to be by the end of the year, if all things progress. So, and then we've got some percentages to look at over here. So there are a lot of math standards. It is not really realistic for teachers to build goals over all of these math standards. It's overwhelming. Teachers can look at all of the standards, but what we're proposing is that second grade across the district focus either on numbers and operations and algebraic thinking, which is these first 4 standards. I can set a goal around those 4 standards. I can hang on to that. I can make that a focus. The other standards still matter. We're still going to teach them. But when I think about data collection, I can focus on that, those 4, or I could focus on number and operations in base 10. There are more of them. All of these are numbers and operation in base 10 standards. But what this report does is allow teachers to cluster standards based on Graham-Fletcher's instruction and measure it over time. One of the things Eagle Creek shared tonight was that they've been doing this project for 5 years. It's gotten better every year. The same thing will happen as our teachers focus on data and implement what they've learned from Graham-Fletcher, right? So the same thing can happen if you're a 4th grade or 5th grade or whatever, but we're just looking at 4th grade standards. So same report. These are all 4th grade math standards, but when I get down to the bottom, these bottom, let's see, starting here, these are all fraction standards. So when we help teachers with broad learning and categories and apply it in a couple of specific standards, we should start to see growth. We should see collective efficacy developing. So that being said, we're going to keep focusing on this. I want to say it again. We've had this conversation as a principal team with the elementary that this is a direction we could go with. I'm excited by everybody looking at the same data across the district in the same way with common goals, not exactly the same goals grade level across the district, but common goals that are pretty close together. I think there's some power in that. There's some power in building grade level collective efficacy by building and also district collective efficacy by grade level. If we're looking at similar data, my nerd data side gets excited about that part. It's still in service to universal design for learning. It's just more specific than the general content. The general concept of universal design for learning is getting more specific in the subject area. And now we're honing in on goal consensus as a means to build collective efficacy over time. It's a lot of talking, and I'm sorry that Jonathan isn't here to talk about this with us. He should be here and highlight the math that he's learning. But all that talking is to say it's an avenue for growing collective efficacy over time. And I think an idea that could be implemented. Have any questions after all of that?
I have a question. When you were looking at all the data, for all the different schools, did they have similar, common things that were kind of red, a lot of red in the same areas?
Definitely you can see it in fractions, that there's more red in fractions across the system. When you get especially into 4th and 5th grade, 3rd grade is a little more common, but as the concepts get more sophisticated, right, the data starts to spread out, the scores start to spread out. And it's the middle of the year, we don't expect everything to be in green, right? They've learned half the school year is done. That's based on end of year expectations. So we definitely want less red, but every building has its strengths and every building has its struggles. So that's very clear too, where you can kind of pick out where the focus might need to be as a grade.
Carrie, I have a question for you.
Yes, yes.
So I'm curious, will you then be doing a follow-up when we get the data at the end and see if the projections in fact meet reality? Because that's what I'd be curious about. So that's my first question. And my second comment was, I really like that you're using the UDL philosophy, if you will, and applying it in more narrowly, I would say more targeted. I think that's really healthy. And myself being a teacher, the standards, I'm in kindergarten, but they feel overwhelming sometimes. And for me as a teacher, I would like the idea of what is the essential targets I need to meet for these kids by the end of the year. And I just like that you're applying that. I think that's going to be very effective.
I think it's got some merit, and like I said, effective for individual grade levels in a building, but I think district-wide, it can open up some district PLC time, where teachers can get together and compare notes on what's working and what's not, and how to disperse that, the rich ideas, you know, that we get when we generate together.
And will you be able to do a follow-up then when we get to the end of the school year, and then maybe give us that comparison and see if in fact the students were effective at reaching those goals?
Yeah, absolutely. We can do a follow-up too. I think it's important to remember when we're thinking about instruction, and we're thinking about teaching and learning, like it takes time for staff to learn. This is our learning year. This is our dabbling year. Next year, we move into a bit of a deeper implementation specific to a subject area with common measures, right? But it often takes 3 years before we see any significant movement. This system change takes time. We hope it won't, but we also know research says it will. Yeah.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie, for all the data and all of the ideas and instruction that you provide to us.
But just remember what Eagle Creek said, it's a lot more memorable.
I want to see salmon fractions next. Next up, we have our informational items, and we'll start with our superintendent's report. Dr. Susan.
Just wanted two things. I wanted to again thank our classified staff and to say how awesome and remarkable they are to commit their service and their support to our district and our students and our staff. So I thank them. And then I wanted to say well done to the Footloose crew, because to the students, to the staff, to the families that supported. I went to twice, and I went the first night and then the final night, and the final night was Saturday, and it was sold out. So there was big signs on the door, sold out, sold out, sold out. That means every seat was filled. And it was, I mean, it was amazing, and the kids were awesome. And I'm just so impressed with not just how talented the kids are, but how this community wraps around our kids. And so that we always do this. I don't know anywhere else where I've ever been in the school system, but here we honor the seniors when it's a last event or last performance. And just, that's a neat thing. That's a neat thing that we do. And it was awesome.
Next up, we'll have our legislative update and discussion. Director Kelly.
Hi, good evening. So our session with the legislature ended last Thursday. It had sine die. So for us as WASDA members, our window has opened for any revisions to current what they call these legislative or resolutions. So things that are existing, or if we want to tweak something, we want to make a change, or if we want to create something new. I would just advise, rather than me sort of blasting this out to you all, if we have any board members who want to know, hey, I'm having this idea, I'd like to throw this out there. Does this currently exist as a current position with WASDA? I can do some research on that and find out for us. I have a very lengthy description that Marissa has sent out to us on the nuts and bolts of what it takes. Personally, I think we have something like 253 of these that I listened to in September. I think there's a lot of solid things on there, but I know on that being newer, if you just have something in your heart that's like, hey, I'm newer to this, does this exist? Could this be something that we could consider? And just email me and I can pursue that for you. Marissa canceled our meeting tonight. I think she's probably needing a little R&R after the 60-day very quick session. But that's really the big opening. This window to revise existing positions or create a new one expires April 8th. So it's, really it's less than a month time to look at that. But as I said, I'm pretty comfortable. My goal, really, my thing is the 60% supermajority. That's the only thing I would want to tweak, but I know I'm like others and that already exists and changing. So feel free to reach out to me if that's something you would like to look at more in more detail, if you want me to pursue that with Marissa. Otherwise, that's pretty much my only heads up right now. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Kelly. Next up, it's comments from board members. We'll start on this side. Director Knapp, do you have anything to share?
Yeah, I mean, I went and saw Footloose. My teenager requested to go with both parents, which was like a huge deal, on Friday night. And I feel like each night that we went was great, but I think Friday night was the best. Just because, like what you were saying, there were so many teachers. I saw Gina there, and it was like so cool to see. It's always cool to see the community kind of come together for the students. And I'm looking forward to Thursday going to the Diversity Club is putting on an event at the high school. So everyone's welcome, and I'm hoping that I'll see a bunch of people there. And other than that, just maybe, hopefully we'll get some sunshine this weekend.
Lovely, thank you. Director Diamond?
I have nothing extra to add tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
The forecast does call for sun this weekend.
Oh, nice. Okay,
That's all I have for the evening.
that is a good report. And we appreciate that. Director Kelly, anything else you'd like to add?
Not too much. Thank you. Looking forward to term 3.
We're down to less than 100 days for the end of the school year, I think. I did a little bit of math. That's coming up. I wanted to share just my own personal appreciation for Director Knapp stepping in 2 weeks ago and running a very nice meeting. Thank you very much. And allowing me to spend some time recovering, and my surgery went well and I survived and I'm here. And I was able to go to the Footloose on Saturday night, and it was very, very full, and it was incredible. So impressed with all of our people, and looking forward to seeing what they do next. They're just incredible. And the pit orchestra was pretty great.
Oh, yeah, that was cool.
That's right. So I want to remind everybody about our next meetings. We have in 2 weeks, March 25th, we have a study session at 4 o'clock in the Lincoln Room, and a regular meeting at 6 p.m. that same night. And next up on the agenda is our executive session. And so I'm going to read my handy little script. We will now recess this meeting so that the board may convene in an executive session to review the performance of an employee or employees and perform the superintendent's mid-year performance review. I estimate the executive session will last approximately 20 minutes during which time no final action will be taken. And following the executive session, this meeting will be reconvened for the sole purpose of adjournment. And so I just want to make note that it's 7:13 right now, so I can expect us to be returning about 7:33. There was some math. No, we will. That's really loud.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back. We have finished our executive session and we are back to adjourn the meeting. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Director Diamond and seconded by Director Knapp to adjourn the meeting. Director Diamond,
Yes.
Director Kelly,
Aye.
Director Keenan,
Aye.
President Levesque. Aye. Director Knapp. Aye. Thank you. The meeting is adjourned. Drive safe.